Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Today I want to deal with what's on your plate, what's lawfully on your plate should be your conviction. Hmm. Abiyah, thank you for Shabbat, this day of rest. Thank you for the opportunity to talk and just share word, and may your will be done on earth as is in the Shamayim. Yada Yahuwah. So, um, I was showing pictures of pizza and things of that nature. And of course, a lot of topics spawned from that. But again, people, start talking things dealing with the dietary laws. And so I just wanted to share my perspective, my conviction, and use the text to show it because a lot of times you see people beating people up and bullying them over their convictions or their choices of what they eat. So let's get straight into this. Let's get straight into this. Eat. Shabbat Shalom. Getting straight into it. I'm going to start off here. Starting off with Bereshit, or Genesis 1. And it says, and Elohim called the dry land earth, and the collection of waters he called seas. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim said, the earth bring forth grass, the plant that yields seeds, and the fruit tree that yields fruit according to its kind, whose seed is in itself on the earth. And it came to be so. So let's just jump, still in Bereshit, but I already got it set up. And Elohim said, let the earth bring forth the living being. So we have the vegetation coming from the earth, but also we have the earth bringing forth the living being according to its kind, livestock and creeping creatures, and the beasts of the earth according to its kind, and it came to be so. And Elohim made the beasts of the earth according to his kind, livestock according to his kind, and all that creep on the earth according to his kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. Now, of the fish and all that is in the water, but I'm dealing with the beasts and the livestock. All of it is still considered flesh or meat. Over here at Bereshit, Genesis 2, starting here where it says, verse 7, it says, and Yahuwah Elohim formed the man out of the dust, so out of the earth, from the ground, and breathed into his nostrils breath of lives, and the man became a living being. And Yahuwah Elohim planted a garden. He had already did in Eden to the east, and there he put the man whom he had formed. So let me see. And it says, out of the ground, Yahuwah Elohim made every tree grow that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. So originally, we could see that before any type of sin or anything came in, yes, the vegetation was made for food. That was the focal point. So, me, myself, I take no issue with my multitude of friends that are vegetarians, or they eat no meat. No issue. But I do see a lot of times that lifestyle puts pressure on people who do eat meat. It's a choice. They say, well, a lot of people say, well, the original intent this. And you can always counter that because in the original intent, you can always say, okay, well, they were naked. We're not naked now. We clothed. But there's so many different things with the original intent doctrine that you do bypass if you do this thing of ignoring that sin came in and it changed the narrative and that Yahuwah knows the end from the beginning, so he knew that it was going to occur. People are innocent animal. So how did Yah clothe them? How did Yah, I guess, did not accept Cain's offering, but he accepted Abel's. And what was Abel's offering? Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Going back to sharing my screen and keep going. So jumping over here to Bereshit 7. And it says, Yahuwah said to Noah, come into the ark, you and all your household, because I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation. Of all the clean beasts, so he's identifying some of the beasts as clean. This would denote that some would be unclean, but let's keep going. Of all the clean beasts, take with you 7 pairs, a male and a female, and of the beasts that are unclean, see, there it goes, unclean, 2, a male and his female. I don't even have to read the rest, but it's just identifying that there are clean and unclean. You know, the unclean, if he took and killed one of the unclean, since he only got 2, they would not be able to procreate. But he got 7 of the clean, 7 pairs. So 14. He made offering out of clean animals, but and so even when you go to the birds, it's so let's keep going. Bereshit, Genesis 9. And Elohim favored Noah and his sons and said to them, be fruitful and increase and fill the earth. And fear of you and the dread of you is on every beast of the earth and on every bird of the heavens, on all that creeps on the ground and all the fish of the sea. Into your hand they have been given. Every creeping creature that lives is food for you. Every creeping creature. So some people would say, well, then that would include the unclean. He already had signified or excuse me, indicated clean and unclean. He was only talking about the clean one. I have given you all, and I gave green plants. So this right here is letting you know that the clean animals and the green plants are okay to eat. So he went from just being about plant and vegetation and fruit, but now you can have clean animals. But do not eat flesh with its life, its blood, but only your blood for your lives I require. From the hand of every beast I require, and from hand of man, from hand of every man's brother, I require the life of man. Let's keep going. See, let me stop for a minute. So you got all these different texts that show that men that were righteous to Yah ate meat. There's this I guess Essenes or Essenes doctrine that says if you eat meat, you're in sin and you're going to hell. and they push this stuff so hard. And it's like, okay, do we just, take this book that's not even a part of the 66, and we basically eradicate and ignore everything that's in what we call the Bible and take on this doctrine? This doctrine that, or this book that we really, who wrote it? Where did it come from? I myself have not read it. I've read pages because people have constantly shared the pages and tried to um, go against, food that I've shared or whatever, or items. And I'm like, okay, you eat flesh, you're going to hell and all this stuff. And it's like, man, I get their conviction. I have no problem with their personal conviction, but them trying to lay heavy on people and make people guilt out of eating meat, ignoring that, everybody has, it's like what I think possibly eight blood types or whatever. Everybody doesn't eat the same. Everybody doesn't, what we eat doesn't, have the same effects on everybody. You see people having issues with gluten and all this different stuff. One of the things we have to consider, even, yeah, you could say man is tampered with meat, or because you got this lab meat, you got clone meat, you do have meat that is made basically almost by like a printer. But you got to also look at Bill Gates and Appeal and stuff like that, and how they're actually putting vaccine inside of fruits and vegetables. They've also been putting human DNA inside fruits and vegetables. You find hepatitis, you find all these different things. One of the major problems is that we're not processing as well as growing our own foods. We're very dependent on them or other folks to provide our food. So you really don't know what you're getting, dealing with the meat or dealing with the fruits and vegetables. You don't know how fresh it is. Again, it all came from the earth originally. And most of the things that are considered clean are what? Herbivores. They eat of the ground. And one thing that I've learned myself, in watching stuff or whatever, that animals actually are more picky when it comes to things that are food. A lot of the stuff we label food, they will not eat. They will stay away from it. I've seen where, a lot of like our drinking water, animals would choose to eat snow or other, sources of water, dirty water, than drink a bucket of water that comes out of our faucet, because our waters is full of chlorine and other things. Animals have a keen sense to know when something is poison, more so than what we do. They don't eat for flavor like we do. They eat for health benefits. So a lot of times they eat things that we would never touch. It's been times, I've seen cats and dogs eating grass. And then, you find out that they're doing that to heal their stomach. They know how to get things that will medicate them or help them. And a lot of times we eat out of just only flavor, only our lust for good taste. But anyway, let me get back. Share my screen. All right. Let's deal with our ancestor, Yitzhak. You know, Isaac is as what we've learned his name was, but Yitzhak. So here over in Bereshit, Genesis 27. And it says, and it came to be when Yitzhak was old and his eyes were too dim to see, that he called Esau his elder twin son, fraternal twins, but the elder of them, and said to him, my son. And he answered him, here I am. And he said, see now, I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Now then, Please take your weapons, your quiver, and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt wild game for me. No, he didn't tell him to go get him some vegetables, no get him no fruit. He wanted him to hunt wild game. He wanted some animal flesh and make me a tasty dish such as I love. So this man loved this. He's not asking for vegetables. He's not asking for fruit. He asking for wild game. And bring it to me to eat in order that my being does favor you before I die. So this is what he's requesting so that he may esteem his son and show favor towards him before he die. And Rivkah heard what Yitzchak saw, and Esau spoke to Esau his son, and Esau went to the field to hunt wild game and to bring it. Now, I'm gonna pull away from this, and I'm gonna just talk to you. His wife basically dressed up the other son in skins, animals that died, skins of other animal, to make him look hairy or feel hairy because his father couldn't see. So again, an animal died for that skin, that clothing. I'm like, it's amazing. I know there's cotton out there, but a lot of some of these brews out here, what they act like they don't, wear clothing. They don't have items from animals or whatever. They against animals dying. But again, back to this narrative. The other son, basically, they end up getting lamb or goat or whatever, and it was prepared, and the father ate it, and thought it was Esau, and he loved it, eating flesh of animals, a clean animal at that, of course, but in our bloodline, this is something that has been in the mix. Let's keep going. Very much lawful. Again, if it's against your conviction, if you're not comfortable with it, let it go. Don't do it. But to beat up other folks that do, because you shouldn't force your conviction on other folks. If that's what you're doing in your household, okay. But don't come in my household. Don't try to dictate my household. So, okay, let's deal with Passover, or when they were in Mizraim and looking to worship Yah outside of Mizraim. And it says, and here in Shemot, Exodus 12, and Yahuwah spoke to Moshe and to Aaron in the land of Mizraim, saying, this new moon, new month, is the beginning of new moons, new months for you, and it is the first new moon of the year for you. Speak to the congregation of Yasharel or Israel, saying, on the 10th day of this new moon, each one of them is to take for himself a lamb, not a fruit, not a vegetable, but a lamb, according to the house of his father, a lamb for a household. And if the household is too small for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next to his house take it according to the number of beings. According to each man's need, you make your count for the lamb. Let the lamb be a perfect one, a year-old male. Take it from the sheep or from the goats. And you shall keep it unto the 14th day of the same new moon. Then all the assembly of the congregation of Israel shall slay it between the evenings. Excuse me. And they shall take some of the blood and put it on 2 doorposts and on the lintel of the houses where they eat it, where they eat it, where they eat it. And they shall eat the flesh on that night, roasted in fire with unleavened bread and with bitter herbs. They shall eat it, eat it, eat it. Do not eat it raw, nor boiled at all with water, but roasted in fire, its head with its legs and inward parts. And do not leave it until morning, and what remains of it until morning, to the AM, you are to burn with fire. And this is how you eat it, eat it, eat it. Your loins girded, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and you shall eat it in haste. It is the Pesach of Yahuwah. Mm-mm-mm. Oh boy. Let's see. Let me move down here. It says, and this day shall become to you a remembrance, and you shall celebrate it as a festival to Yahuwah throughout your generations. Celebrate it as a festival and everlasting law. That right there is key to me. I see a lot of these vegan, vegetarian, you know, Israelites, because I'm not dealing with Christians, Israelites, that will say they're keeping the Passover. They're guarding the Passover, which you can guard it. Guarding does not mean do. So I don't beat them up when they don't eat any lamb, goat for the Passover. They eat their vegetables while everybody else is eating their meat. They can guard it without eating it. But if you want to put it at do, instead of, when you want to put keep to mean do and not guard or shamar, they're not keeping the Passover if you want to put it like that. But they are guarding it because they're, bringing it forth. Now, if you're telling people that they're not supposed to eat meat, now then you're not guarding it. If you're making a conviction choice of not doing it, but guarding it and saying, yeah, this is what is said to do, that they ate lamb and goat, you're teaching it right. But if you say, no, don't eat no meat, you're going against what right there is in the text. Again, I agree with everyone taking in their personal conviction for themselves, but pressing it on someone else and bullying people and trying to make what is the command of Yah into sin, that's wicked. Again, if it's your conviction not to eat meat, so be it. You can still guard or shamar because you can let other people know that this is what it said to do forever throughout your generations. Your conviction is that you don't eat meat, but you shouldn't impress or force or manipulate people into your conviction. That's what you feel is best for you. And it's okay because you're still shamaring and protecting what the word says towards others. But when you start bullying people, "Hey, you can't eat no meat, that's sin." You're not telling the story the way it was told. I just read it out. And what they do, they ate lamb, goat, they ate that standing in haste. And you're supposed to remember this throughout your generations. All right, let me keep going. All right. We'll go over here to Shemot, Exodus 16. And Moshe said, and that Yahuwah gives you meat to eat in the evening. It says flesh, but he gave him some quail in the evening. In the morning, or am bread for satisfaction. They gave manna. For Yahuwah hears your grumblings, which you make against him. And what are we? Your grumblings are not against us, but against Yahuwah. And Moshe said to Aaron, say to all of the congregation of the children of Yasharel, come near before Yahuwah, for he has heard your grumblings. And it came to be as Aaron spoke to all the congregation of children of Israel that they looked toward the wilderness and see the esteem of Yahuwah appeared in the cloud. But again, they were eating meat or eating flesh of animals. Let me see. Okay. All right. Deborah, Deuteronomy 14. I just want to just read this. Do not eat whatever is abominable. I can go through and read all of the clean animals and the unclean. Maybe I should. Yeah, I got the time. I'm gonna make the time. These are the living creatures which you do not know that you do eat. Remember, some people are teaching that you don't eat animals. These are the living creatures which you do eat. Ox, it eats what? Grass. Come on, sheep and goat. These are herbivores. Deer and gazelle, herbivore, and roebuck and wild goat, and mountain goat and antelope and mountain sheep, and every beast that split with has a split hoof divided in two, chewing the cud, grass, herbs. Among the beasts you do eat, but those chewing the cud of those having a split hoof completely divided, you do not eat, such as these: the camel, the hare, and the rabbit, for they chew the cud, but do not have a split hoof. They are unclean for you. You see the separation. You have clean, you have unclean. What you eat and what you don't eat. It says, and the pig is unclean for you. Why? Tell me about this pig. Most people should know that pig is waste management. I've never lived on a farm, but I have family members who have lived in the South and dealt with pigs and stuff like that. And they basically use the pig to eat all of the waste food, leftover food, the trash or whatever, because a lot of times they're way out. They don't have trash pickup. So the pig eats up all the trash, basically. It's not the paper goods, not the metal and stuff like that, but all of the food trash. Pigs even eat up feces. You don't eat pig. You shouldn't eat pig. You have snakes, pigs eat up the snakes, poisonous or not, and it won't even kill them. All right. And the pig is unclean for you because it has split hoof, but does not chew the cud. You do not eat their flesh or touch their dead carcasses. Again, something that eats poisonous stuff, eats things with toxins, that thing is poisonous. And if something is able to kill it, like poison it, you definitely don't want, because like I say, it can eat poisonous stuff and not die most of the time. How can you eat it if it says you not to touch, do not eat their flesh or touch their dead carcasses? Of course, when it comes to the water, it says these you do eat of all the waters, all that have fins and scales, you do eat. But again, with all of this, it's like, man, you're trying to bully people and force them into your conviction. If you don't eat meat, so be it. Again, I got friends that had to stop eating meat for their health benefits because it was doing something to them. If that's your purpose, cool. The best way to eat probably is to eat just fruits and vegetables. But I found for me, I lack strength when I don't eat any meat. And again, I'm not trying to push meat on anybody. If you don't eat it, so be it. I'm not governing your body. I'm not telling you that you're going, if you don't eat meat, you're going ahead. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not beating up anybody for not eating for eating meat or not eating meat. Excuse me. I'm not beating up anybody because they don't eat meat. I don't. Your plate is not my problem. It really isn't. If you're eating unclean things, now then I'll talk to you about that. You know, I don't mess with no catfish because it's unclean, bottle feeder. I don't eat no shellfish. These are things that I have eaten, yes. But I'm like, it's text after text that say not to eat these things. But people be trying to be on my head about eating meat. And I'm gonna get to some other stuff that be on my head too, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So let me share my screen again. People will bring this up right here. Daniel 1, you know, they call it a Daniel fast, but it's really not a fast. Daniel was basically made to be in servitude to the sovereign of Babylon and the Chaldeans and stuff, and they wanted them to eat what the king ate. And a lot of times that stuff was unclean stuff, or even if it was not unclean meat, the way they handled it wasn't the best. They ain't want nothing to do with that. So again, Daniel like, hey, let us just eat fruits and vegetables. So let me just read a little bit. It says here, Daniel 1, it says, go to 11. It says, and Daniel said to the overseer, whom the chief of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Please try your servants for 10 days and let them give us vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then let our appearances be examined before you, and the appearance of the young men who eat the portions of the sovereign food. So basically, compare us to them and do with your servants as you see fit. So give us 10 days and see how it turns out. Let us eat only vegetables and water and compare us to these other ones that eat this meat. And he listened to them in this matter and tried them 10 days. And at the end of 10 days, their appearance looked better and fatter. They looked healthier in flesh than all the young men who ate the portion of the sovereign's food. And it came to be that the overseer took away the portions of food or what was given to them from the sovereign, the meats, and the wine that they were to drink, and gave them vegetables. Because they didn't want the wine either. All right, let me keep going. Now, this right here is going to make some of these people, if anybody is watching it from the East Scenes, they make them mad because they try to say Yahusha is the one that very much pushed this not eating meat thing or whatever. But according to the Basora of Luke, a lot of people I deal with don't deal with the Brit Hadashah. I'm a Tanakh and Brit Hadashah person as well as a Apocrypha person. But let's go. You got Luke 24, and go to 36. It says, and they were saying this, as they were saying this, Yahusha himself stood in the midst of them and said to them, Shalom, peace to you. And being startled and frightened, they thought they had seen a ruach, a spirit. And he said to them, Why are you troubled? And why do doubts arise in your hearts? See my hands and my feet, that it is I myself. Handle me and see. For a ruach, a spirit, does not have flesh and bones as you see I have. And saying this, he showed them his hands and his feet. And his feet. And while they were still not believing for joy and marveling, he said to them, have you any food here? And they gave him a piece of broiled fish, flesh, broiled fish, and some honeycomb. And taking it, he ate it in their presence. And taking it, he ate it in their presence. And taking it, he ate in their presence. So he ate the broiled fish. Yahusha ate the broiled fish by the text. Of course, you could say, I've had issues with some of the text myself, and so, you say, oh, they added that. But this insane doctrine, this other text, I'll say that they added that. That insane doctrine, I'm like, that ain't nowhere in the 66. That contradicts most of the Torah. That contradicts most of the Tanakh, where you see them eating flesh of animals. They keep going back to Genesis 1, and saying, hey, you're only supposed to be eating the plants from the trees and of the ground, of the earth. But again, the animals came from the earth too, just like we did. But let's keep going, because I gotta even address that, because people play with this thing a little bit. So I'm gonna get into right now what I was hit up with, because I get it. We shouldn't, the preservatives is something, that they put on the food. But I was showing some halal pepperoni. And of course, I'm never trying to hinder somebody from their convictions. So it's like, this person asked, well, it's halal. That means the Muslims prayed over it. I'm like, I don't, Allah, whoever I don't receive that person as a deity. Yahoo is the only deity that I acknowledge. You got all these different deities. People wear their Nikes all day. Nike is a goddess. I don't mess with it, but I'm not worried about a Nike. Church and Cirque, that's a deity. I'm not worried about that. I don't see that as a reality for me. The term God is God real. Lord, Baal. I don't use those terminology because I'm not giving any reverence to it. When I eat something or whatever, I just look at when it's halal. I know I don't. They say shellfish is halal, so I don't mess with that. But when you're dealing with this pepperoni, there's beef and chicken in it. It's just saying when they killed the meat, they drained all the blood out of it. If they prayed over it, I pray over my stuff, my own self, so I'm not worried about, because I don't acknowledge whatever deity. I'm like, and you don't know what's being done with most of the food that you buy from any of these places. If they, halal, specifically though that has been done, but I don't acknowledge their deity. I'm like, Bill Gates has his own label, appeal, for his vegetation and stuff. He supplies a lot of major restaurants with potatoes that they make their French fries from. You don't know where a lot of your food is coming from, who's dealing with it, who's handling. It's been a many times that you have fruit and vegetables that have had hepatitis found in them. And again, They're saying they're putting the vaccine and stuff. Pray for your food yourself and trust Yah. We need to start growing our own stuff and processing our own meats. Yeah, we do. But we're not doing that. All right, but let me get back over here because I'm not trying to push my conviction on you. If you don't want to eat meat, don't eat meat. All right. Coritium Aleph or 1 Corinthians 8. It says, and concerning food offered to idols, we know that we all have knowledge. Knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. If anyone thinks that he knows somewhat, he does not yet know as he should know. But if anyone loves Elohim, this one is known by him. So then, concerning the eating of food offered to idols, we know that an idol is no matter at all in the world, and there is no other Elohim but one. It's only Yahuwah. These other things don't exist. It's a figment of these other people's imagination. They're putting the power of Yah that's in them into these things. Wood, metal, all these things that they make into idols, even food. They're the one handling it. They're the one having the power over these things, but yet they want to give over, abdicate their power over to these things that are already dead. Because, if you carve something out of wood, that wood is already dead. Metal is not alive anyway. Food or animals killed is dead. So then, concerning the eating of food offered to idols, we know that an idol is no matter at all in the world, and there is no other Elohim but one. For even if there are so-called mighty ones, whether in heaven or earth, as there are many mighty ones and many masters, for us there is one Elohim, the Father, from whom all came and for whom we live, and one Master, Yahusha Messiah, through whom all came and through whom we live. The second Adam has dominion as the first Adam did, Yahusha. That dominion is given and that authority over earth is given by Elohim. We serve and worship Elohim. We desire his will be done on earth as is in the Shamayim. Not some figment of others, religion and their imagination and stuff like that. Those things are just things. Again, I don't want to hinder anyone. If somebody has a problem with something offered to idols or whatever, if I know that, I'm not going to present it to them. I'm not going to even bring it up to them because I don't want to cause them to stumble because I love them. But it means nothing to me. I was just sharing something because I know a lot of people who love pizza like I do. And they be looking for meat options. And pepperoni, when we were eating pork or whatever, was one of the things. And it's like, man, a lot of people, man, I ain't had pepperoni since before I came into the way, before I became awakened. Oh, they got a turkey option. They got a chicken and beef option. Oh, and again, the problem comes, moderation is what we should be doing. And so it ain't like they eat pizza all the time. So I'm like, hey, here's an option. I don't eat pizza all the time, even though it's one of my favorite foods. I don't eat it all the time, but I put that on there. And oh, the preservatives. If the preservatives bother you, don't. Lunch meat has preservatives. Almost everything we eat from a store has preservatives. Moderation, moderation, moderation. If you're eating fast food, I'm preparing it myself, so I know what's in it to an extent, more so than something that's prepared at a restaurant and you're not seeing the process. Again, I ain't trying to I ain't trying to force my food on you in my plate. If it's within the law's parameters of clean and unclean, it's clean. I don't see the issue again because it's my conviction that I'm dealing with, not yours. You don't If you don't eat it, cool. Love you still. I'm not gonna pressure you to eat my food, and I'm not gonna let you pressure me to eat your food. Because if it's lawful, it's lawful. Again, moderation is still wisdom all the time. I got a wrap in the refrigerator that my wife made. I think it might have roast beef and some turkey in it, but it has some spinach, has some onions and some tomatoes, things that I love. You may not like them. If my Zakeem Craig was over here, he would want one. You know, I got more than one, but I'm only yeah. Anyway, but let's get back to this. Let's get back to this because I'm about to finish off. You know, my daughter had came asking me some questions, and she probably got it from somewhere else because people do share stuff based on past beliefs, and as a Christian, past beliefs. So, Timotheus, Aleph, or First Timothy 4. Go to verse 4 right here. It says, because every creature of Elohim is good, and none is to be rejected if it is received with thanksgiving. So they say, oh, well, pig is a creature. Shrimp and crab is a creature. So Elohim is good. None is to be rejected with thanksgiving. And I'm like, he's already showed you what is clean and unclean. He's giving you a dividing point. But they say every creature, and they try to validate the one when he's told you what not to do. He said, don't eat this. So he's definitely not talking. He's not double tongued. He don't go against his own word. So he's not talking about that. But then they keep, but every creature. So I'm like, okay, well then, why don't you go eat some human then? Oh, you ain't supposed to eat human. I'm like, okay. I'm like, but you said every creature. Let's go over here. Corinthians, bet. 2 Corinthians 5:17. Therefore, if anyone is in Messiah, he is a renewed what? Creature. You can eat every creature, you say, right? So you can eat this person that Messiah has made a renewed creature. The old matters have passed away. See, all matters have become renewed. So if all creatures it's okay for you to eat, that means you can eat human too, especially those that have been renewed in Messiah, huh? So you got to know that that's not the context. That is not saying all creatures can be eaten. When you're dealing with what Yah says is food is based on the Torah, what I showed you, clean and unclean. Other nations have their own, you know, baseline of what is food. You go to Asia and you might see trays or piles of greyhound dogs, and that's food. You go to Asia, they have roach houses. They walk in there and they picking roaches off the wall and eating because that's food to them. You go to Africa, they eating the bush rats, frying, burning off the hair and eating those things. We ain't supposed to be eating rats. Those things are not in our dietary structure of what is clean. Those things are unclean. Again, with the halal, though they clean the livestock a certain way, they follow most of the clean unclean when it comes to livestock, but when it comes to shellfish and fish with skin with scales and and fins, they consider almost anything that come out of the water halal. So that conflicts. So when you can't just use this, oh, it's halal. No, you got to make sure that there's no shellfish. There's nothing that's unclean in the waters in that. Again, when you're dealing with chicken and beef is halal, that's not water stuff. Okay? You got to know the difference. It's a place here in Flint that, has halal foods and they have no shellfish, none of that, nothing, no water things on the menu. So I don't even have to worry about cross contamination with that because they don't even have it on the menu. Now you could ask, maybe they, use that to season stuff. I don't know, but I don't think they do. But you can ask. I'm like, I know that their meat is handled properly more so than a McDonald's, more so than some of these chain restaurants, where, McDonald's, if I don't know, I ain't gonna even go there. But some places have been said to have human flesh inside the meat. I haven't eaten at that place in years, you know, way before I became awakened. But we got to stop trying to put people in hell saying they sin and sinning and because they eat different. you know that's doing too much. That's doing way too much. Putting your conviction on somebody else and beating them up, that's doing too much. you know nah. What's on your plate lawfully, that's your conviction. I have mine. I have a whole group that I share pieces, just show food items that I eat. You can Anybody can join, but it's like I ain't even here to. I mean, I'm not here to, put that out there, promote that. It's just saying I'm not gonna let somebody beat me up and run my household and force me into veganism. If that's something that becomes my diet choice later on, cool. If y'all leads me there, cool. But I'm not gonna beat other people up who don't follow how I do. That just makes no sense to me that people manipulate people and try to put them in hell off of things that Yah has said is lawful. And, the Passover, of course, hey, it says to take a lamb, eat. Come on. Yahusha met with his people to have the Passover. If any of them ate the lamb, he ain't gonna beat them up. That ain't. I wouldn't believe that. Yahusha ate the broiled fish. Abiyah, thank you for this Shabbat. Thank you for this opportunity to talk. And I just feel some compassion on the people that have been bullied into this thing. If they make this choice on their own, cool. Let your will be done in them all the same. Y'all let my household be governed by you. If I'm doing something that is out of line with your will, please correct me. And if you do it openly, I am all the more thankful because I can accept the rebuke and it will be motivation for me to change. I thank you for loving on my household, loving on me, and letting us walk out your will daily, monthly, yearly, enduring to the end. Shabbat Shalom, Yada Yahuwah, Yada Yahuwah. Shankwil Yah, One Vision Ministry, Shanquilla Carter. Shabbat Shalom.